All right.
Hey, Facebook family and friends. Hey, just wanted to introduce you to one of my friends and business partners who's helped me out quite a bit in my business lately. So,
Yeah.
Nick Krem, a guy you're going to want to meet, got a incredible story. Has a man who wears many different hats: social media coach, event planner, trainer, and I'm probably missing a lot of other stuff. So, first of all, welcome to my podcast, Nick. Glad to have you here.
Man, Chris, I'm really excited to be here and knock out some of this video here with you. It's great to see people taking action, but also it's just great to see everything that you're doing and get to know you more as we became business partners and to roll a lot of this out with you.
I appreciate it. You've been very helpful to me. So glad to have you here. So, hey, take us back a ways and, tell everybody about how you got into the real estate industry. I mean, you have a little bit different career path than most folks I know. So,
yeah. So I was actually a day away from starting a job in like a warehouse, and I got a call to start as an ISA at a call center. I really had no idea what it was, like what that job entailed, but just deep down, I knew I didn't want to go work at that warehouse, right? So I'm like, you know what? I'll take the job. So I started off in the real estate industry calling 15 hours a day.
Wow.
Yes, 15 hours a day, 8 a.m. on the East Coast to 8 p.m. on the West Coast. And during that time, what I didn't realize is like, you name a value proposition, I pitched it. You name a CRM, I was in the back end of it. You name a brand strategy, we learned it. So like during that time, I got a really deep dive into the real estate industry, how it works, how to generate leads, and even more so, how to really attract more business. So I got to work with agents all over the country, which really like set me up for my next career path.
That's awesome. So first of all, kudos to you. You must have a lot more focus than I did because I can't imagine cold calling that long every day.
Yeah, it really came down
to is that something you fell into very easily, or did you have to build into it?
Dude, I hated the phone when I got into that. Like when people would call me, I would hang up and just tell them to text me. Like coming into that, what I realized is, well, when you need money, you'll do a lot for it. Number one, right? Like at the time, like because I moved out, so then all of a sudden I had to pay bills and do everything. So that was a portion of it. But then also it was I started to really like it. There was a window in there when I was really liking it. And after a time, I'm like, man, I am calling 15 hours a day. Got a little bit much. But, there was definitely a window in there where I was like, you know what? This is a lot of fun because when you get, to me, when I get good at something and I can start winning, I start to like it, right? I love winning. So I love setting up appointments. I love having the appointments close. I'm having good relationships with a lot of these agents, which to this day, some of our clients today, highest paying clients, are some of the people I was calling for about 7 years ago.
Wow, that's awesome. So obviously, the world you had a much bigger way to impact people in the world than cold calling people today.
Yeah,
that much, and you've graduated all from doing that to your next steps.
Yeah. So then, like the next step. So my next steps from there were. So you're asking about my next steps that I did, right?
Right. Yes, I know. Is that when you got into coaching after that, or was there something in between that?
What ended up happening was, so I was calling 15 hours a day, and the day before we had our first coaching clients, the coach who was supposed to coach them quit. The night before, he quit. So they looked around the office and they asked people on the Zoom. They're like, "Who wants to coach this person? Because if not, we're going to lose the client." Everyone kind of paused and looked around. I'm like, "Screw it, I'll do it." And I was about 22 years old at the time. I was working there for one of the shortest periods of time. But since I was calling 15 hours a day, I knew that stuff like the back of my hand. Granted, the night before that coaching client, because it was only the next day I had them to coach, I stayed up all night just studying material. I had to make my own material, make my own coaching. But yeah, that was just something where I really look back on it. And that was like a big step for me. Because if I would have said no, then I wouldn't have started getting the relationship. I wouldn't have started figuring out that, well, I'm a pretty damn good coach. And I loved doing it too. So, again, it's funny how during that time, that those relationships to this day, I met them again in EXP Con. I got to meet some of them for the first time. But it's a lot of these relationships that I really started to build during this time at the call center, I still have to this day. and working with people on a high level. And no matter what level it is, I always thought I was at a high level. Whether I was just their ISA, I didn't look at myself that way. I looked at myself as their business partners, helping them get to the next level. And since I've had that mentality through the ISA and then eventually running the company, a lot of these relationships were one that I used to formulate when I started my own company.
Yeah, I love that you raised your hand and just took charge and did it. It's one piece of advice you just recollected from Grant Cardone that I've learned is it's like never say no to an opportunity. Yeah. Say yes, even if you don't know how to, and then go figure it out.
It was wild, man. Like I never had a coach before, so I didn't even know how the coaching sector worked. All I knew is, you know what? It seems like a great opportunity. Nobody else raised their hand. I'm like, if nobody else, why not me? So, and a funny story about that, since I was 22, the guy I was coaching ended up being bald. And the reason why that's important for the story is he wasn't that much older than me. He was only about 30, but I was so nervous he would see how young I was. I told him my camera didn't work the first call.
Oh, really?
I was like, oh, crap. He's going to see how young I am, and he's not going to listen to me. But then after that, I worked my way out of it. And we became really good friends, my man, Greg, first coaching client ever.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then I guess from there, is that when after doing that for a while, is that when you transitioned, deciding to build your own company?
Yeah. So it was actually at a mastermind. I was in a room with, it was like the top team in California, one of the top teams in Florida, top teams all across the country. It was a small 30-person mastermind. And actually one of my mentors, Al Snakes, had kind of snuck me in the side, right? So I'm sitting in this room and I'm hearing these people's stories about how they sold everything they had, how they were living in their car just to make sure that their building went through, that the building that they knew they were going to buy to start their team. Somebody else talking about how they canceled their Netflix subscription just to get by because they believed in it so much. Wow. And you know what? Me and my brother left there, my actual brother. We left there and we came back and we're like, you know what? My brother looked at me. He's like, hey, so I have this idea for this company. He's like, are you in or you're out? And at first I was like, you know what? I'll do this part-time, this. He's like, no. You're in or you're out. So I texted the person I was working for at the time and said, hey, I'm quitting. I'll do everything I can to help transition you guys, but I'm starting my own company. So it was that day, pretty much sold everything we had, moved back home. And we're like, you know what? There's only one way to do this. We're going to figure it out.
Yeah. When was that? How many years ago?
That was about 4 years ago. It was 4 years ago, almost to this day.
Okay. You were still living in Ohio back at the time?
Still living in Ohio. I actually moved back with my parents just to get this up and launched.
Awesome. Agents do, and how your company's progressed over that 4 years, because they've come a long ways.
Yeah. So it has come a long ways. And I lost you there for a second. What did you ask, Chris?
Oh, just say if you could tell everybody about how much you progressed over the last 4 years, what you're currently doing, what do you focus on helping agents do, and how your business has progressed over the years. Because I know you got a incredible business you built up over.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Chris. And it started off, we were working with some people with EXP in the agent attraction sector. We've been working in that sector since before we even left the company. That's where we really specialized in, but we didn't really realize that. At first, we created a digital business card. And this was before COVID and all that happened. So we were a little bit ahead of the curve there. So the reason we created a digital business card is, we went to figure out how to put all their information on one singular page. We went to a company where they build you out a custom website and it was like $5,000. We're like, well, that's not what we're looking for. And then there were other companies who had something similar, but the company branded themselves all over it. It'd be like contentcards.com big and just really small, Nick Krem and like my information. Like, well, that's not what we want either. So we created our own content cards. And that's how we started doing what we're doing. And we created recruiting landing pages. And we really, over these last 4 years, really 5 years, specialize in helping agents with agent attraction and recruiting. We created whole game plans and whole systems behind it, and really helping agents transition into video, which I believe is a big portion of it. Because since I got into real estate, I was on video. I didn't know what I was doing at first, but I knew video was important. So I was on video almost every single day. And, we helped a lot of agents since then transition into video. because we built our company based on the belief that agents deserve the minimal effective dose. What's the smallest amount that agents need to know in order to be effective, get on social media, and really blow this up? Because I believe a lot of social media companies confuse agents more than they help them. So we want to actually help agents get to that next step.
Yeah, I know if you're watching this, you may have noticed that you've seen more of me on video recently. And I've known I should do more video for ages and ages, but I have to give you credit for nudging me and even pushing me to get out my comfort zone. So I appreciate you for that.
Yeah, and I think it also comes down to make it simple enough for you. I know a lot of other people, I'm sure other people have told you how important video is. You knew how important it was, but I believe a lot of people make it more confusing than it has to be. Try and get you to buy scripts and memorize this script, do it this way. It has to be this amount of length. When in reality, getting out there and actually doing it, having the right tools in the right order, I believe helping agents do that is one of the most effective things we can do.
Yeah. So what are some tips that you could give agents to build a brand and get on video starting today?
Man, I'll tell you what. Well, one of the best ways to get on video is like this right here. Is doing an interview, right? Utilizing the interview format is one of the best ways that you can get out in front of people. And I still think it's one of the simplest ways. Because Chris, right here, it's me and you talking back and forth. It doesn't have to be this deep monologue that we worked on for hours and all these video scripts that we're both memorizing. It's very organic, and it's a great way to get on video. But I'll tell you what.
You didn't have to prep or think about it too much. It just
didn't even have to prep or think. You heard it here first, guys. Didn't have to prep or think about it too much. But here's one of the biggest ways that I believe agents who are out there trying to build a brand, help people buy and sell more homes can work. And because I'll tell you what, because a lot of times we think we're competing with Zillow and Realtor.com in these places. And most of the people I go in these Facebook groups and they're like, stop buying their leads. Oh, you're just feeding the monster. Stop buying their leads. That's not why that they're in business and they're dominating right now. So what happens is I was sitting down with this rep about 6 years ago. We had a little bit to drink, and that was my goal, right? I wanted this Zillow rep to drink a little bit. I want to pry into the brain and see what's behind the wheel. And I got a really good nugget. When I realized this, he kind of broke it down. He's like, why do you think everybody's paying us for leads? I'm like, well, they need leads, da-da-da-da-da. He's like, no. He's like, think about the consumer. The consumer is trained to go browse homes, view homes online, and pick a realtor out of a hat, right? They'll go on Zillow for hours just looking at homes, and when they're ready, they pick an agent out of a hat, right? That's their entire model. If there weren't people browsing homes, there would be no leads to dish out, right? Because if nobody was going to Zillow looking for homes like crazy, clicking find me an agent, there would be no leads for Zillow to dish out, essentially. But think about this. What does every agent do? Every time they sell a home or help somebody buy a home, they go to their Facebook page and post a picture of a home and the specs of the home. We are telling our consumers that the home is the most important part of the deal.
No, it's you. It's the agent.
We are training, us as agents are training people that the home is the most important part of the deal, because all we post is 3 beds, 2 baths, 2,500 square feet. Here's 10 pictures of a home. What is Zillow? It's the exact. Yeah, it's the same thing. So instead of training people to go to Zillow, training people that the home is the most important part of the deal, every time an agent sells a home, here's what they should do. Here's what they should do. Here's what they should do. Yeah. Stand in front of the home, bring out your phone, and tell people what they had to do to sell that home. Tell people they had to stay up till midnight talking to the borrowers. Tell people there were 5 offers on their home and they had to dive deep into each one to figure out which was best for their clients. Tell people a deal fell through and they had to go back to all the other offers. Stay on the phone and make sure it happened. And when you're helping a buyer, here's a really big one. When you help a buyer, stand in front of the home and let people know, hey guys, I just want you to know there were 4 other offers on this property. What that means is there were potentially 4 other families that saw their kids playing in the backyard. The families already started picking out which rooms their kids were going to be in. They started picturing their kids going to this school district. But the reality is only 1 family got in. So guys, here's what I want to tell you. Here's why I made sure that my family got into this home, right? I stayed up till midnight, and then you tell people what you actually did. What you want to do is you want to train people to choose you as the agent, right? Stop posting just pictures of a home saying 3 beds, 2 baths. You're training people that you are a commodity. If we keep doing that, we will commoditize ourselves, right? And I always say as agents, value unarticulated.
All right there.
Right. Value unarticulated is value unappreciated. The reason why a lot of people don't value agents is because we don't tell them what we actually do. They see us post a picture of our home one week and then post it the next week and it's sold. And they're like, wow, that was easy. They just posted a picture of a home and it's sold. We have to start telling people what we actually do in our jobs.
Yep. So there are a lot of people out there that think we don't earn our commissions. So
exactly.
A lot of that's
you know, and I think a lot of that is from us not actually telling the community what we do as agents. Unless we go on a listing appointment, then we break it down. But why don't we start telling people what we do every single day on video, right? And then again, why are there a lot of for sale by owners? Because they see us post a picture of a home one week, post a picture of a home 2 weeks later saying it's sold, right? And then even more so, we get on videos and we tell them 3 ways to sell your home faster. So now they feel like they know what to do and it looks super easy. Instead, get on camera and tell people what you actually had to do. Man, I took 30 phone calls in one day of people trying to get into this property. I stayed up till midnight working with the different offers, talking with the different agents. If I heard that as a for sale by owner, I'll be like, man, I have a job I have to work. I don't want to stay up till midnight. I don't want to take 30 phone calls. I don't want to do any of that.
Yeah. Well, hey, Nick, those were some awesome nuggets and everything. So appreciate you sharing some of your wisdom and expertise. Hey, I'm going to tag you on the Facebook video, but hey, if anybody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
NickKrem.com. My first name, last name.com, guys. We have a bunch of free training on there. If you guys want to learn more about branding, how to build your own brand, we have a bunch of free training on NickKrem.com that you guys can go and utilize. We have a lot of podcasts on there and a lot of other great information for you guys.
Okay, awesome. Well, hey, thanks again. Appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely, Chris. Appreciate you.
Okay. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.